She did not know how many minutes she had left before her body finally surrendered. The cold had stopped feeling sharp. That scared her more than the pain ever had. Cold that turned gentle meant the fight was almost over. Lydia Hart knew one thing with terrifying clarity: if she closed her eyes again, she would die in the snow. The frozen field outside Cheyenne stretched endlessly before her, white and merciless beneath the moonlight. Her dress, once pale blue, was soaked stiff with melted snow and frozen sweat. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the earth itself were pulling her down, claiming her. Her fingers had gone numb long ago. She pressed her hands against her chest, desperate to trap the last scraps of warmth still hiding behind her ribs, but the wind sliced straight through her like a blade. It did not care about fabric or flesh. It wanted her gone. It felt like the night wanted her gone. Behind her, somewhere in the darkness, stood Burke Hanley's saloon. She had escaped that place with nothing but the clothes on her back. No money. No horse. No coat. Only the deep purple bruises blooming along her arm from the last time Burke had grabbed her hard enough to remind her who he believed she belonged to. He had told her she would never leave him. He had told her she was his until she paid a debt she never owed. But she ran anyway. Now her legs barely obeyed her. Each breath came out in broken, uneven clouds. The edges of her vision darkened, creeping inward like a closing fist. Every step dragged her closer to the ground. A voice whispered inside her head. Not yet. Not here. Do not die like this. But the world kept fading. Her knees buckled. Lydia collapsed into the snow, her cheek pressed against the ice. The cold felt almost kind now, almost like rest. Like a blanket pulling her under. Her thoughts slowed, softened. If this is the end, she thought dimly, at least Burke will never own me again. Somewhere far away, she heard a sound. Hooves. Then boots crunching through frost. For a moment, she wondered if her mind was playing tricks on her. Pain did strange things when it decided you were finished. Then a man's voice cut through the wind. Low. Rough. Urgent. Miss. Can you hear me? Miss. Strong arms lifted her from the snow. Her body felt weightless, as if she were made of paper. She caught the faint scent of leather and pine smoke. A heavy coat wrapped around her shoulders, and suddenly there was warmth, real warmth, pressing against her back. She forced her eyes open for a heartbeat. A bearded man looked down at her, his face carved by years of sun, wind, and quiet sorrow. Jack McCready. The rancher who lived alone along Powder River. A man she had only heard rumors about. Cold. Silent. Hard. But in that moment, he looked nothing like the stories. He looked afraid. Stay awake, he said, his voice shaking despite his effort to steady it. Stay with me. Her lips barely moved. Please, please don't let me go. He held her tighter. I won't. Not tonight. The snowstorm roared as he carried her toward his cabin, each step deliberate and stubborn against the wind. Firelight glowed through the small window. He pushed inside, laid her gently on his bed, and fed the fire until the flames leapt high. Her shivering was violent, the blankets jumping with every breath. Jack pressed a warm cloth against her hands. Her skin barely reacted. Fear tightened his chest. She looked up at him through heavy eyelids. If I fall asleep, will I wake again? Jack didn't answer. He only kept his hand on hers, pouring warmth into her frozen fingers as if sheer will might pull her back. And Lydia felt something she had not felt in years. Safety. She didn't know it then, but the night she nearly froze to death was only the beginning. When Lydia opened her eyes the next morning, warmth surrounded her. For one long second, she thought she had died and woken somewhere gentle. Then she saw the rough log walls of a small cabin. A fire still glowing in the stone hearth. A weathered coat hanging on a chair. And Jack McCready standing at the stove, stirring something in a pot like he had done it 1,000 mornings before. He glanced over his shoulder when he heard her move. Relief flickered across his face before he masked it. "You're awake." "Good," he said. "Eat something before you fall over again." His voice was calm, but worry sat beneath it, heavy and unhidden. Her body ached everywhere as she pushed herself up. Her fingertips still burned, but at least she could feel them. Jack brought her a bowl of hot broth. She cradled it with both hands like treasure. The days that followed blurred together. She slept often. Jack kept the fire alive day and night. Sometimes she woke to the soft scrape of his knife as he carved wood, staying awake simply to watch over her. By the fourth morning, she could stand without shaking. She stepped outside, sunlight brushing her face. Snow stretched wide and clean across the Powder River Valley. "Thank you," she whispered. Jack nodded once, like a man who had been thanked enough in his lifetime and never learned how to accept it. She knew she couldn't leave. "Not yet. If you go back now, you won't make it," Jack said quietly. "Stay until the road's clear." Town meant Burke. She swallowed. "I have nowhere safe to go." Jack rubbed the back of his neck, thinking carefully. Finally, he sighed. "You can stay. Work if you want. Help with meals. A fair trade." Hope flickered inside her. Maybe this place could be a beginning. 3 days later, trouble arrived on horseback. Jack was fixing a fence when he spotted the rider. Slow. Deliberate. Angry. "That's no neighbor," he muttered. Lydia stepped onto the porch, and froze. She knew that posture. That hat. Burke Hanley. He reined in, eyes locking onto her like she was property. "Thought I'd find you," he sneered. "Cheyenne's talking." "I left to live," Lydia said, voice shaking but unbroken. Before she could move, Burke grabbed her wrist. Jack was faster than expected. One shove sent Burke stumbling. One punch sent him crashing into the snow. "Touch her again," Jack said, standing over him, "and you won't walk away." Burke left with blood on his lip and hatred in his eyes. "This isn't over," he promised. The silence afterward was worse than the storm. Days passed. Jack stayed alert. Lydia tried to feel normal. Then Burke returned, with a crooked deputy and a false claim. Lydia stepped forward before Jack could speak. "That paper is a lie." The deputy hesitated. Then lowered it. Burke left again, defeated but dangerous. That night, Lydia couldn't sleep. The fire crackled. Jack lay resting. She stood there a long time, heart pounding. "I'm done running," she said softly. "I want to stay." He hesitated. "You deserve better." She smiled gently. "I want the man who carried me out of the snow." Silence stretched. Then Jack nodded. "If you want this life, I'll give you all I have." She kissed his forehead. Their wedding was simple. Their life was full. And the snow that nearly took her life became the reason she found one.